getting to know yourself, getting to know your emotions, how your own body will react to your own emotions. Psychotherapy and psychic training are actually pretty close to each other. They just use different terminology, different, sides of the same coin, I think. It's really getting to know yourself and really figuring out your emotions, right? And when you have that control of yourself and your emotions, it just kind of gives some clarity to everything else.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Delusional. I'm your host, Michelle Coyle, and I am so excited today for my guest. It's Ryan Desbien, the 2025 Psi Games champion. And if you don't know, the Psi Games are like the Olympics of psychic shit, right, Ryan?
You got it, Michelle. It's so the Psi Games 2025 was the first real international psychic competition put on by Hakeem Nisler. Literally had a list of influential people, both from technology, the Psi community, military generals. It was just a really eclectic group, folks from kind of more of the UAP and alien community. But it was kind of like a big convention for the Psi community. But the thing that made it different was it was the first real psychic competition where folks would show their abilities in front of an audience with literally about 30 cameras and military generals and scientists watching from one side and teachers and commentators talking on the other, and literally hundreds of potentially thousands of people in this giant ballroom watching you express your abilities. And they're paying their life for it. So, and I'm also a multi-sport professional athlete. I actually was a world long drive guy. I actually raced supercross and motocross. Also, I raced BMX. I was a professional car racer for a while and actually taught folks how to drive supercars in Las Vegas on top of other things in Vegas. So I'm just an eclectic guy.
And I love it. And you're exactly the kind of delusional, crazy guy that we love having on the show. The show is basically meant for you. So I'm so glad to have you. I want to start from the beginning with you because you had a very interesting and weird upbringing. So tell us a little bit about that. Your parents were helping people who were nonverbal, right? And you were around that.
You got it. Exactly. And so one thing I want to say is my family is the best. My dad and my mom truly were I was blessed to have them as parents. I'm my parents' real blood child. But I grew up my entire life literally into when me and my wife got married, we actually had our own, we were what's called a therapeutic foster home, both in my childhood and then when I became an adult, me and my wife became one as well. And so it's a foster home for folks with special needs. And so a lot of what we had in our home when I was growing up was a lot of like autism and folks that maybe had some other disabilities. I can't go into giant details about it, but I always had at least 1 or 2 to 3 folks in our home. And one thing that was always really taught to me was unconditional positive regard, right? We're all human. We're all doing this for the first time. Some people get better hands than others, and some people play their cards better than others, but we're all human. We're all doing this, and really nobody's better than anybody else, right? And it's just elevating ourselves as we elevate others. And so just having that really core belief growing up and physically being part of it, I really do believe I developed some degree of telepathy. Which I then later used in my career. So I actually went to school to become a behavioral therapist. So I have a human services, mental health, and counseling degree on top of about, I hate to say this is going to make me sound old, 25 years of long-term care certifications and licenses needed to do things here in Colorado, as well as working in school districts. I actually was a teacher for a little while in my wife's school where she's a teacher, just really trying to give back to the community. But I always wanted to be a superhero when I was growing up. And I think, the motorcycle, I get in all the gear, you wear all the stuff, you kind of look like a Power Ranger, right? So I think that was part of why I also like that. But, in real life, what that looked like for me was being a case manager and being this, crisis person and helping people have the best, life they can with the cards they were dealt, right? And so I won't say exactly who my dad is, but my dad's head of human services for the state of Colorado, at least for 1 more month till he retires. My dad's been there for like 35 years. So, he deserves every moment of that. And I'll kind of get more into my mom because she's a little bit bigger, but my dad's a really good guy. just this really good upbringing, right? And I literally cannot give more praise to my parents, and I'll give a little bit more to my mom here in a minute. So I
Well,
do all this
Ryan,
stuff.
I'm so interested in people like you who have excelled in multiple areas. You know, we have a lot of people on the show who have done a badass thing in maybe one area of life, like they made millions of dollars, or they were a professional athlete, or they're a Hollywood screenwriter or something. Now you're somebody who's figured out how to do it in multiple ways. So you were a professional champion, right? Motocross rider. Am I getting
Yeah,
that right?
it's just the problem is you just never sleep, right? Just you can't sleep and you drink lots of coffee and you just keep moving, right? So
Hopefully that's not the actual answer, right? But
I mean, it's a little bit, but there's a little bit of sleep in there. I won't give there no sleep. But I'm also a dad, so my kids are doing it. So it's really once again that core family unit, right? Like my family's all about when we're moto. If we're doing it all in. We're not gonna half it, right? We win a podium. We're not gonna race if we don't think we're gonna do well, right? So
mhm.
but it's just family and love, right? And that's really the core and why I think we were able to do a lot of this stuff. So I've been racing motorcycles here in Colorado, literally since the '90s. It's gonna make me sound old again.
It's okay.
But I've literally done every type of gate drop is what it's called here in Colorado, from doing mountain rides and trails in like timed sections. It's called like hair scrambles, to racing years and years of Supercross, which is stadium racing, and we actually traveled for that. Multiple national amateur championships. I got to be what's called a C rider in like Supercross, where you're good, like you're a professional rider, but you're the slowest of the fast, if that makes any sense. So, true privateer, but I was able to get like on the big tracks to show I was good enough to compete for a long time, and just got old, man.
Happens to the best
But
of us.
yeah, it's the worst part of life. I'm telling you, is just getting old.
You know
But
what,
I
Ryan?
did
I'm kind
that.
of enjoying it. I gotta say, like, I gotta interject and say I like getting old for people listening. And there may be some gender stuff in this, but as a woman, I'm feeling like there are certain expectations that are just released. And like, I just turned 45 last month, a little over a month ago, and there was something very liberating about turning 45. I was like, oh, I don't have to be the young, cute, whatever anymore at all. I don't even have to try. Like, I have no chance. I can just be middle aged, and I can be kind of invisible, and I can kind of do what I want. No one cares. It's kind of
Hey,
amazing.
I think my wife would agree with you. I don't know that I directly live like that. But I was going to say, so I do all this stuff nonstop just because I want the biggest, baddest dad lore of all time, right? Like I want my kids to be like, so what was your dad, or what'd your dad do? And they're going to be like, what didn't my dad do, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so I
I
did all
love
the
that.
motocross, I did all the supercross, I did all the BMX. My kids actually did BMX. So I'll go into a little bit of stuff, and I'll kind of bring in some more stuff about my kids. But we all do, like my whole family. We actually got all this publicity in like 2023 because my whole family raced, and so we did all these big national races with this association called USA BMX. And my son won this thing called the Gold Cup, and my youngest son won Grands, and my oldest son won what's called Race of Champions in ROC. So I did well, and my wife did well, and we all qualified for everything there is to qualify for. So, we got a lot of publicity just as our family, and it's once again just that core family. Everybody's participating, right, or contributing in the best way they can. And so along this way, during all this moto time, about 2015, actually about 2008, my mom was diagnosed with cancer. She literally worked the day she passed. I'm going to talk about being psychic. The worst part of being psychic is you just know when things are different, right? Or they feel different, or they hit different, right? And so I actually got the call at my works, and it was my dad. And my I didn't know who it was. I was actually the admissions guy at that time, so I was getting calls constantly. But my dad's like, hey, you need to head to this hospital. Your mom's not in good shape, right? And so, including my mom, we had some time to process it, right? Like we knew since 2008, this happens in 2015. Long story short, she passes for about 4 minutes right after I get there. She comes back for about 15 hours, is able to say goodbye to all the friends and family. Everybody travels. We end up having like 300 people at her funeral. She was a teacher in the school district here in Colorado, like forever. And it was just, this really good situation for what it was. Right. And so I'm racing during this time. I actually have this motivation to, win a championship for my mom. No, I mean, I was in a spot to potentially do it. I actually rode over my head trying to do that and ended up killing myself in front of my wife and my kids and my dad and my
Literally.
race
I mean,
team. And
literally. Like you literally died.
literally,
Yeah.
so it's actually my home track. Literally, the track I've probably ridden thousands of times. Probably spent thousands of hours at this track. It's literally just from my house where I sit right now. It's only about 5 miles. Like I literally moved out here to be close to that. But there's a thing called a triple, and so when you come off a jump, you want to come off the jump straight, and you land on the downside of the jump, right? And so what happened is when I went off the jump, my rear caught weird, and it threw me sideways. So instead of landing straight, I ended up landing sideways and basically face planted sideways on my left side, and it actually gave me a traumatic brain injury. I literally broke my shoulder, all my ribs, my back, my leg. I was dead for 4 minutes. And then I had about 2 weeks of recovery where it was just kind of a blur. I remember going to the track that day. I remember that they put more sand on, but during this death experience, it was funny, right? Because moto community in Colorado is pretty tight. It was this really good friend of mine named Joel, and Joel actually ran what was called the Rocky Mountain Moto Medics. And so that was the medic team that was at these races, right? And so he saw what was happening and actually headed off my family and was like, okay, well, wait a second, guys. And what I'm also not saying is my family had to run like a half mile around this track because I, of course, did this on the complete opposite side of where they were. So he kind of heads them off. I do end up coming back at the track. I'm in bad shape. They rush me off. My wife goes with me. During this time, I kind of had this out of body experience with my mom.
That's what I want to ask about. Like, did you see the other side, or like, what was your near death experience?
So a little bit of all of it, right? And in the most profound stuff was I don't know if it was the 4 minutes I was dead, or maybe the like 2 or 3 days where I was kind of in and out of it. But I had this out of body experience with my mom, and the best way I can describe it is my mom was the best. I totally love everything about her, but when she would get upset with me, or sometimes she just wanted to make a little bit of a scene, she would pull me by my ear, even into my adulthood with my kids, right? And so she'd pull me by my ear and be like, I have this crash. I have the last memory of going up into the air, then just nothing, right? That's where it ends for Riot right then, right? And so, I end up on the same jump, waking up. It's still a clear blue day. My mom's there with me. There's nobody else, just on this jump, right? And so she picks me up off the ground by my ear and starts lecturing me. And basically in this process kind of shows me this, I don't want to say it's exactly like Ebenezer Scrooge, where he sees his past, present, and future, but my mom kind of phases me in and out of these experiences of seeing my kids' faces and my dad's face. And they had just experienced all this with my mom, and now I'm putting them through this. And like those like real emotions were hitting too. And who knows where I'm at, right? And so I'm literally having all these profound out of body experiences while basically, I don't know if I was in a coma, but I was just, I think I was on so many painkillers too, I don't know. It was 4 days of blur. That's what I know. You know what I mean? And so, I come back through. I went, the fourth day was the first day I really got my like self back. I'm back in my body. I actually tell them they missed this like big part of my leg. They had put all the emphasis on my upper body, but they missed my leg. So I'm like, no, guys, you want me to walk up these stairs? I can't do anything. Like, so I ended up having to get one more surgery to put a plate in my leg. My entire left side's like modern, healthcare miracles, I guess would be the way to put it. This is after like 30 years of breaking bones on top of it, but this was the good one, I guess. I survived.
You're here,
but,
yeah.
So I have basically when I start to get myself back, I can feel more, and I get what I call this color overlay, right, or this love overlay, right, where I feel like for the first time I'm kind of not looking at things as selfishly. I don't consider myself a selfish person, but like there's definitely some times in racing where like I kind of got karma, dude. I'm all about like you can't be one way or the other, right? It's a little bit of a balance, right? So I did this championship race for what's called arena cross, which is like indoor stadium racing but on a smaller scale. And I ended up with like it was a Friday Saturday thing. Saturday was the championship. Friday, I go through this storm between Colorado and it was in Utah, Salt Lake City. I battled this blizzard, which I definitely should not have been driving on. I get there, I dominate on Friday, but I have to leave first thing in the morning, Sunday morning, because my son has an event and I have a wedding to get to. And it's only about 8 hours out. So even with the storm, should only take about 10 hours, right? So I go in Saturday, Saturday's championship day. I dominated everybody Friday. My race is second to last race. And I end up getting taken out at the start by having a person fall in front of me. And I front flip on their bike basically and get thrown into the crowd. I dislocate my hip into my nether regions. And I have no way of getting home now. And I can't drive anywhere. And it's this bad situation, right? So, and it was because I was greedy. Like I didn't need to prove anything to anybody. It was just me chasing points and being greedy, right? So I think those kind of combinations really, and then dying kind of put me into the situation of like, see beyond yourself, right? Look,
Right.
like you're a good dad. Like it's not like I'm trying to say I was bad or anything, but it just expanded my vision to really take a step back and see the bigger picture, I guess be the way to put it, right? And so we still race motocross. I still do all that. My oldest son won't race motocross because he saw that big event. My youngest son is actually a championship motocross racer because he's only seen the championships. But I'll just kind of keep going here. So my mom passes. My mom's very metaphysical and isn't really psychic, but believes a lot in like, minerals and spirits and is sort of ghosts, not really aliens. But I come back from this near-death experience and I start having constant like orbs, like aliens or orbs or spirits or orbs of plasma, I guess is one of the other things I've heard that they could be. But I definitely start having these orb experiences, right?
Okay,
And
so when you say you have orbs, do you mean like you're seeing things or you're feeling things? Or...
I've not only seen them, but I've recorded them, and I've got like multiple of them recorded by me and another guy who does a podcast called Lights from Loveland, who's just up north. And like, so there's been like several times where we've caught like triangular craft. He's caught it from Loveland, I've caught it from Brighton, and it must be like over this city called Thornton because you can see the two different angles and how we both are seeing it differently. So no, it's real and I've seen it and I've got it on video and we've posted it, and we actually have sky watching events. I actually have one coming up on May 16th because I don't want to say that we can summon them on command, but these orbs usually show up, especially for me and him. And so that kind of starts happening. We start having all these synchronicities with animal stuff to spiritual stuff. And basically in the process of this, though, this is all leading up into 2020, right? And so 2020 hits. I'm in long-term care, healthcare as a social worker manager at that time. Death just hits really hard, right? Death hits long-term care very, very hard. And these people you would have relationships with for months or years, 15 of them die in a day. And that's, blows anybody away, but, especially people that are having to endure that. And, and I was one of the people that stuck around. I stuck around till 2023. So I was literally getting the thing in my nose, 4 times a day, constantly having to do the healthcare stuff. And on top of that, just, I had only had like maybe 3 rotations of people in my long-term care career over 10 years. And in that 1 year alone, we went through 15 rotations, right? It's just very, very hard. But it also in that same token, kind of this telepathy I had built, through my childhood. I also kind of honed it once again in these crisis situations and working with these continually nonverbal folks. It was also a real honor to be that person that can provide that end of life care to a lot of those folks that we couldn't get like hospice folks in for, because I could read them and make those last few moments as comfortable as possible. And, I will openly say I'm not a very religious guy, but I am very spiritual. I believe that we have a spirit and a soul. I can tell you, the human body, good or bad, does several things consistently when it starts to shut down. And I won't go into all those, but there's several things the body does when you're probably about 5 hours or less from the moment, if it's a typical process. And so when you're in those last few moments, you especially when you have like a telepathy, you're just feeling that entire room, right? And so I really learned how to hone this. And I just want people to know like the reasoning in the background of why I say I really do feel like I have telepathy. I've also done demonstrations where I can do it, and it's not a magic trick. Like it's really just feeling people. It's feeling people's energies. I'm 100% an empath, right? And so
And we're gonna
um
get to see some of that in a second.
yeah,
I have a couple of questions about this. One is I have a theory that everybody's psychic and that a lot of us are just conditioned not to pay any attention to it or conditioned to believe that it's not real. And because of that, like we can't access it. But then once you start to kind of uncover that you can access more and more of your own abilities, do you agree with that? Is that your frame?
100%. I always use. I'm a. What I was getting to is I'm not really much of a religious person, but I do believe in the spirit and the soul. I also am a very much like a. Oh my god! I'm like a myth or like an analogy or like a. There's a better word. I just hadn't tipped my tongue. This is the part with hitting your head all the time. uh, like ancient Greek, like Sisyphus, right? Sisyphus
Yeah.
was I cannot think of the right word, but where he would push the ball up the hill only to have it roll down, or you have
Mhm.
like the cave where the folks that are in the bottom of the cave only get the shadows, and then the shadows. I mean, it's just any other rabbit hole or any other sport, right? Like the more you get into a sport, the more you need maybe you need more specific equipment, right? Like the more I got into motorcycle racing, the more specific equipment I needed for that specific type of race, right? And so just progression, right? And so what I was going to say is like I think everybody has it, right? But I've really tried to make a point in demonstrating is so I have all these psychic abilities. And I guess where I'm going is I'm going to talk about the Psi Games. So I have all these psychic abilities. I've constantly shown my ability to have success in Las Vegas, Central City, Blackhawk, like anywhere there's gambling. I literally am the dude that can gamble and make X amount of money in this amount of time, and it's unbelievable. And like I've literally shown my race team, my family. So all the close people in my life knew that there was something a little bit extra. So they were like, yeah, dude. So we hear about this thing called the Psi Games.
Wait,
And
before we get into that, because I know this is going to be a whole thing, and I've got my
yeah,
own questions and my own stuff I want to. So
absolutely,
I
100%.
want to know, just to put you on the spot, but also to put me on the spot. Are you picking up anything psychically about me? Because we don't really know each other, Ryan. So this would be a good experiment.
You know, sort of. The where I'm getting is you're still feeling me out, and I'm still feeling you out to some degree. But I what I look for a lot in people is a lot of their nonverbals, a lot of their like eye movement. It's as much as it is this telepathy. I also have the clinical background. Like I know the DSM 4TR, which I don't think is the latest one, but I'm old school. But like I know, I guess that's also kind of how I knew a little bit about the psi, but not all the specifics. So, like, Carl Jung did the MBTI, right? And any sort of psychotherapy, you might use the MBTI to help people identify themselves, right? But unbeknownst to me, Carl Jung is also one of the main psychic researchers, right? And so, there's so many examples of that. But I don't know. You're from Kansas, right?
No, Oklahoma
No.
though. Close.
Where are you from?
Oklahoma. You were close.
Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I thought I'd heard that you're from Kansas. I was just gonna say, so my family's from Kansas, and it's just kind of a different, like, you know, I'm in Colorado, and it's still a little bit of the Bible Belt, but I feel like you get kind of a different version of that when you grew up kind of in the more middle, Midwest. I guess would be the way to put it. You know, and I guess what I was just trying to say is, it's I don't want to be like the woo woo side. I think is what I try to say is I try to keep it very clean and clinical. I guess would be the way to put it. I do believe in like the spiritualism and stuff like that, but I try to put the least amount of like act or show or magic or anything into any of my stuff, right? Because what's really been important to me in the side games is if we don't keep stuff like this going, it could be lost, especially as we transition into technology, right? Like we're already going to have Big Brother on us so much. If we don't have the new generation, like my kids or these kids that are coming to the side games, really, hearing about this, it may just be lost. You know what I mean? Just
No,
like,
I totally agree. So when you say you don't like to do the demonstration stuff or the woo woo stuff, does that mean you're not comfortable like cold reading me?
well, so So let me back up one step. So my abilities are not. Let me back up one more time. So psychic realm, right? So you might have like you have like the seven clairs, right? And you have like kind of that side of it. And then you have the more military side, which is more like remote viewing, maybe dowsing, trying to find stuff, right? And so what I do not claim to be is I am not a psychic medium. So I don't communicate with the dead. I have some degree. I just had the word on the tip of my tongue. This is the other part. Psychometry, where maybe you can feel things and get the emotions off things. I do 100% agree in that, and I can do that. I 100% think that we put energy into things. Like I 100% know that my motorcycles resonate with me, you know what I mean, and have my energy in them, my clothing, my life, right? But what I don't claim to do is so it's dynamic, right? So what I did specifically in the Psi Games is they tested in 5 different categories. So it wasn't so much like mediumship or any of that type of stuff. It was more on that scientific kind of military side.
So like remote viewing and like seeing things through the backs of cards and things like that.
Yes, exactly. More like that side. So they had remote viewing. I was actually tested into the top 5, but wasn't allowed to do it, and I'll kind of tell you why. They had psychokinesis, which is moving stuff with your mind, which is the one I won. They had Mindsight, which I got second in, which is being able to see through items or see items at a distance that maybe you're not even in line of sight with. They had precognition, which I got second in. It was literally a battle with me and this other guy. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I got second in precognition, which is obviously being able to predict the future, predict the correct outcome. And then they had dowsing. And so I actually still am like in the top 3 of dowsing, but I just wasn't able to compete in dowsing. They brought in about 30 people from around the world. We had people from Australia and Brazil and England and several folks from around the United States, and kind of this eclectic group of folks that not only said that they had psychic abilities, but they had these psychic abilities they could produce on command, right? And so we signed up for the Psi Games. I do my video coming out to all my sponsors, all my public relations stuff, really, to my clinical staff at that time. But I thought I was psychic, right? And that I was going to show my process. So starting in April of 2025, I actually started posting all of my training stuff. I started off with just sizzle reels, the cool stuff. Then it got to the point where it was progressing so fast, I ended up just posting all of our sessions. So one thing I also did, which I don't think anybody else has really done to the extent that I have, is I gave it a training method, right? Like I gave it a training schedule and a designated time and how I would work out certain things for like precognition, right? And so I posted all these videos. I've given all these demonstrations of how people can do it themselves as well, not to bogart it. You know what I mean? So, just and anybody can do this, right? And so that's one of the main things I wanted to show too is that I'm the moto dude from Colorado. Maybe I have some precognition, but anybody can do a lot of this stuff, right? And there's a certain amount of talent, right? But anybody can do the basics. Anybody can shoot a basketball. You may not be Michael Jordan, but you definitely can make a basket, right? And so just kind of getting it out to the public. We do the Psi Games. Psi Games is Thursday. We show up. We do what we call the track walk. We see all the games. We learn that we're going to use an Igley wheel for psychokinesis.
Okay, what's an Igley wheel? You got to stop and explain that because I don't know what an Igley wheel is.
Absolutely. So leading up into Psi Games, we had about 2 weeks of testing where we had to show that we could produce on command, right? Not only to show that we have these psychic abilities, but when Hakeem had done the games, it'd be like, okay, well, here's this guy's track record. He just got 19 out of 20, 7 out of 10 times, which is, substantially above what you would predict for that, baseline to be, right? So not only was it testing into the games, it was also giving a backdrop of like showing that we've had these abilities on multiple tests, right? To show why we're in the games. So like I said, I tested for all 5. I got to do 3. The 3 I did well in. And so I can kind of give you a really quick version of each of them real quick as we kind of go through it. And then I'll kind of do a little.
I still know what an Igley wheel is, and I still want to know what that is.
Yeah. Are you going so testing for the Psi Games for psychokinesis, which is doing stuff with your mind, was actually keeping a electronic random number ball generator inside this random number ball generator target, right? So you're trying to use your mind to affect an electronic. We get to the Psi Games, and it wasn't any of that. It was what's called an Iggly wheel. So let me show you here.
Okay.
So an Iggly wheel is, and we'll just do a little.
Okay, for those of you listening, it looks like, I'm going to try to describe it. It looks like two crystal balls stacked on top of each other.
So hold on one second. Don't do that yet. I'll tell you why it has a thing on it. So an Iggly wheel is this little device that I have back here, and so what it does is it's basically a bearing that will be very sensitive to any sort of really like magnetic or psychokinetic energy, right? And so its whole point is it's very, very sensitive. So you actually, like, this one's just for me. This is my fun one. I'm the artist. I don't know if I mentioned, but in addition to having the Human Services, Mental Health, and Counseling degree, I also have an industrial design degree from the Art Institute, where I make like props and like different backdrops for like local theaters and stuff. So this was just on the crystal ball because I wanted to have it be fun. So it's not like that's part of this thing.
That's not the Iggly wheel. Okay.
Yeah,
so
the Iggly wheel is just a little wheel with the device.
It looks like a wagon wheel with like spikes on the outside of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I actually have it under glass, sealed, to show that there's no air movement affecting them. So when I move them, you can see that they're sealed in the glass, and this is me doing something extra with my body, right? And so I'll just do a really quick thing. So in the Psi Games, we actually had our hands inside of like a painter's box or like a sanding box where you can look in from above, but your hands are sealed inside the box. I know for a fact this year they're going to be using glass on top of the box. So I'll have my hands inside of a box with probably a very similar setup to what this is. So what I do is, I once again, I just like to show everybody I'm all about just, transparency. I'm just on a table, and you can get it from, I think it's called like, I don't even know, but it's one of our local like furniture homes. There's nothing done to any of this stuff. I rolled up my sleeves just so everybody can see. I literally have nothing on my sleeves. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make these wheels spin under glass without touching them. And so as you can see, I've been sitting here moving, doing my thing. I think the table's shook a couple times. They're not doing anything, right? And so they're sealed under glass. I also put the one that would be on the table on top of a whiteboard, so it's sealed to the thing, so that way nobody thinks it's like the cracks of the table or anything. I'm going to try to get this top one to go, then I'll try to get the bottom one to go. I'm going to try to get it to go counterclockwise. Now, in the Psi Games, we actually have like this big board that was telling us to go counterclockwise for 2 minutes, and then clockwise for 2 minutes, then stop, and as fast as you can counter. So we're doing it to this timed thing in the background. So just so people know what I'm trying to do, I do try to create like an electric charge with my hands, and it typically starts from my heart. And without getting too woo-woo on you, basically I bring kind of this emotional heart energy. Let me see if I can just get myself back down here to these cameras. Or maybe I'll just do it 1 second. I'm all over the board.
We're fine. In your hands, do it. It's fine. You're good.
What I was going to say, though, is so I bring it from this like heart energy, right? In this heart energy, I can kind of let it flow through my body, and I can transfer that energy to these Iggly wheels. And the best way I could describe it is like right before you cry or right before you get really upset, you have this moment where you can feel it in your heart. It's almost like a lump in your throat, right? And when you can feel that through emotion, and it can be love or anger. Love is much more sustainable. Anger is kind of more like an explosion where it happens hard and fast, but it's not something you can really aim, if that makes sense. But you get to this emotional state, and you can make things move. And so I've done other demonstrations where I've made things physically move in my environment. The standard that the Psi Games is using is these Iggly wheels. This is, like I said, a specifically designed tool that you probably wouldn't know if you weren't trying to do psychic stuff. But it's a tool designed for this, right? So you seal it up, and then we try to make it work.
Let's see it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try to keep myself in view here. And give me just 1 second here. So what I do is I try to create like a transfer of energy, right? Like a positive and a negative. And the point would be to get it to connect with these fan blades as it's kind of happening, right? So,
all right, Ryan. So I'm just going to describe to the people that are listening
I don't know if
what's
you can see it
happening.
moving.
I see it moving, but for those of you listening, he's got his hands on either side of this glass bowl that's over the top of this igloo wheel. He's projecting energy into it, and it is starting to turn. You may want to actually get on the YouTube and watch this shit. If you're not normally a YouTube watcher, this might be the time.
Yeah, I'll try to do it with this top one too. So the top one's even harder. Like everyone can see, like we're sealed. It's exactly what it is. This top one actually has 2 layers too, because it's actually an igloo wheel on top of like a top of a candle that's copper with like a Walmart bowl over it, right? Like I'm just being transparent about what it is, right? So it's actually elevated above so you can see it. I use this one the most for podcasts just because it actually is elevated and you can see the whole thing and see inside of it. Like, so I'll try to get this one to go too real quick. This one usually catches a little bit late.
Yeah.
There it goes. There it goes.
Wow. Oh, this is so cool.
And so, like I said in the Psi Games, so it's what's really crazy, right? Is, and I'll turn it back here real quick. Or maybe I'll just raise it up a little bit. That way I can come back to it if I want. What's crazy about this, right, is in the Psi Games, you know, I was definitely the Happy Gilmore of the Psi Games. I come in, you know, I actually wore my race jersey for like the big lecture day. I didn't really think anything of it because once again, I didn't really know what I was getting into. The Psi Games ended up being like this huge conference, military generals, all these influencers, just this whole wing of this hotel. And I'm, you know, walking around in my race jersey and some jeans. Everybody's, you know, at least dressed like a professional, maybe business casual. I meet all these military generals in this kind of tight racing jersey. Chris Bledsoe, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a person that can claim to talk to Orbs, was doing a demonstration of that on Friday night. We didn't end up going, but we ended up collecting about 35 people to go to a very similar spot to watch the same sky. And I ended up collecting like this like cheering crew once they knew that I was going to be one of the participants in the game. So when we go into Saturday, you know, everybody else is doing the games very calm and very collected. You know, I'm over there like, dude, come on, let's cheer. And then I ended up having this whole cheering section of people I had just met the night before and completely changed the face of the games, made it more like competition and more lively. And it was just very, very cool. And so I ended up winning doing this event. It's a pretty difficult thing. If you're not trying to do this under glass, it's pretty difficult. I'll also do another really quick demonstration here.
Wait, so Ryan, does the glass help or make it harder? Does it make it easier or harder to have it under glass?
It definitely makes it way harder. Okay. Yeah. So typically, so if you were to do an open igloo wheel, my son actually trains with that. He trains with an open igloo wheel. Here, let me just put this over here. So like the igloo wheel itself, you can actually turn it on, and you can do it open. The catch is like when I'm speaking right now, there could be air blowing on it, right? Like, cause it is that sensitive. So typically I would put my son maybe in this like desk thing and have him wear like an old school COVID mask or just some sort of a mask over. So you're reducing it, but you would put it in the glass basically to show that there's no outside influences, right? And I've done demonstrations where I have smoke as well. And so you can see there's no air blowing. It's just me doing the psychokinesis under glass. So what I can do based on my mind and energy, right?
So it's so cool. And so you reached out to me because you saw Moss Mike on the show, Moss Mike Lesnick, who runs Vibravision. And Moss Mike is such a badass of multiple proportions. But one of the things that he can do, and I've seen him do it, it's crazy, is he can project his heart energy and like break a steel bar with one finger, break multiple steel bars with one finger. I mean, this shit's nuts. You guys can find it on the internet. He has demonstrated that. So you can Google him and see what I'm talking about if you want to. But it's the same type of process, right, Ryan? Like energy projection.
It really is. It's actually funny, right? Because I met Mike at the 2025 Psi Games, and we are actually, I don't even know how much he wants me to talk about this. And I'm not trying to be elusive because that's the opposite of what I'm trying to do. But we've been in communication over this last month. So what's crazy, right, is let me finish up with the Psi Games and let me move into the stuff with Mike and all that because it gets crazier after Psi Games. I'm telling you. So we do the Psi Games. I actually win doing the psychokinesis. I win doing precognition, which was guessing the correct outcomes of situations. And the more correct you got a bigger bonus. So if you got one in a row, you got 10. if you got 2 in a row, you got 10 plus a bonus of getting 2 in a row, right? And so me and this guy named David Tran were going back and forth literally to like the last 3 questions, and he got me in the last 3. And it was just such a cool event. I also did Mindsight, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but Mindsight is being able to see through items. So I actually did 2 different versions of Mindsight. The first version I did was it was actually a pegboard, but it's very similar to this tool that I use. So for folks that aren't watching, so what I have in front of me is a box. It's basically just from Amazon. It's just a color toddler training box for colors, right? But what we do with Mindsight is we use this thing called a Mindfold, which is kind of the standard blackout mask for the Psi Games. Unmodified, just exactly what we would use in the Psi Games, right? And you would put these on, and in the Psi Games, we did a pegboard where it was 6 colors, kind of similar to the 5 I have in this pegboard I have here. But you would put like a purple donut on a purple peg, right? And you would have 5 of each, and you would do that as fast as you could, right? And you would try to do it as accurately as you could. So at that time, I was using what was called intuitive Mindsight, where I'm really feeling colors. I'm feeling the emotions of colors and the board and trying to do my best. Since then, I have had what's called my Mindsight windows open, where I can physically see live in different areas of my body, would be the best way to put it. So I can do a really quick demonstration. I typically won't do a setup for myself. But a really simple way, would be to, I can do a really quick version. Let me see if I can do this. So I can do this really quick timed version. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to move that Igloo wheel, just so everyone can see, that are not seeing. This is a box. It has color, shapes on the front with the words written out. I'm going to put these shapes down in front of me. And I can even I'll get it off my, I want to see everybody see my face.
You get ready, Ryan, and I'll tell him what's going on. So in this box, it's got 5 different segments, and there's a segment for each color. He's got red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. And we can see in the front of the box the red section, the orange section, the yellow section, the green section, the blue section. And then he's got all the shapes with the corresponding colors.
There's nothing special about the box. It's not like it's modified. I'll show you guys too real quick.
There's a slot on the top for him to put the right color in the right box.
Exactly.
And he's got all of these color shapes.
So I just want to show people too. There's no indentions. There's nothing physically that would indicate what the color is, right? And the shape itself is not going to matter when I do what I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on. I'm going to try to mix these up without, I'm going to put the mask on, then mix them up. Then I'm going to try to shoot for under a minute. I don't know if I usually have a timer going.
It's fine. I'm watching the time, Ryan.
Right. So I'm going to put on the mask, and I'm going to show everybody nice and close and personal as best as I can. So the mask is actually sealed. It has compression foam all the way around. It literally is a blackout mask. I hope I didn't show up my nose too much, but just to show everybody like I'm really in this mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix these up here.
Okay, so he's mixing them up so that all the colors are all jumbled up, so he's not going to know what color is where.
What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do my best to make sure that they're all kind of in view for you guys.
Yeah, we can see them.
So you can see where everything is. And then if you just want to give me a countdown, I'm going to go as fast as I can, and this is going to be like the competition part of the Psi Games.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go. He's got a couple yellows. He's got a red in.
Don't tell me. Don't say it. Don't say it out loud.
Okay. I'm trying to narrate for the listeners.
Oh, sorry. I forgot that you have to narrate.
Listeners, you're just going to have to watch this one on the YouTube. He is rocking and rolling, and he's doing it real fast, so we're just going to let him do it. Wow. Yeah, you guys just have to watch this one on the YouTube. There's no way to describe this verbally.
So what I do is I try to feel the color in my hand, and then I try to feel what that color might match to the box, right? So it's really not anything about the shape. It's really trying to get the emotion off the color or to feel the color that maybe the box has on it to match it up, right? And so along with all this too, dang it, where is this one? I always get my greens and blues mixed up, so I'm betting that was one of those two. I think I might have got them all. Hold on.
You got them all.
I think we got them.
You got them all, and you only missed one.
Oh, it's still out here?
No. I mean, you only missed one color, wrong color.
Oh, I missed one in there. So I just want to show everybody, like, I'm still sealed. I'm underneath sealed.
Yeah.
Like, didn't touch the mask. I missed one.
I think so. You were going very fast. I think you got a green and the blue or blue and the green, but like he got all of them other than that.
I think I might have got them.
Oh no, I lied. He got all of them right.
I could feel it at the moment. Like that
one you were hesitating on. I thought it went. No, it went in the right slot. He just showed us. For those of you listening, they're all in the right spot. And how many of those are there? Maybe 50?
25. I think there's 5 of each.
Okay, but he just did that real fast. Like you guys have to watch this on the YouTube if you're not if you're normally a audio listener. We love you people, and this one kind of has to be seen. That was really awesome.
Let me put this up just one more time. So we do Mindsight. So we do Mindsight in a game very similar to that. Up on stage, there's literally 30 cameras, people over your shoulder, making sure you're not cheating. Like it was as controlled in front of an audience as you could be, right? And so I do really well on that. Then they do a distance, right? So same mindfold mask, but they had colored construction paper, and they would do it in 3-foot increments. And what's crazy is I got second to a guy named Jeff. So me and Jeff got down the stage, but there was a woman named Dahlia at the Psi Games who also did Contact in the Desert and a few other psychic demonstrations of her Mindsight. She got down the stage, through the crowd, basically to the wall of the ballroom, and was calling out 2 at a time and getting them correct. And so, you see something like that, and it's amazing, right? Mm-hmm. I've even done demonstrations myself, and I know Dahlia's done them as well, where we will put eye patches on, and they're adhesive eye patches, so they'll actually seal around your eyes. And we can either do it like that, or we can put on the mindfold as well. Just show people that it's really more of this connection of senses compared to like this 100% visual, right? And so people always ask me, are you like trying to see through the mindfold? Are you trying to see through it? And so the answer is yes. And sometimes I can, but when you drive, you don't just drive with your vision, right? You drive with your feeling. You're feeling the car and the engine rev and the road, and you're using all those senses. So in addition to trying to see through the mask, I'm definitely trying to remote view it. I'm trying to get some sort of a heat or a motion signature from it, as much input as I can to get the correct outcome, right? And so I've done other demonstrations where I've done the Zener cards. I love everybody because everybody thinks of these when they think of psychics because of Ghostbusters, and I'm a Ghostbusters guy.
Yeah.
But the Zener cards that you would think of. So I train with these all the time. So what's funny is you talked about the post-Psi game stuff, right? So I keep getting off task. I do well in the psychokinesis. I do well in precognition. I do the Mindsight. I do well in that. I wasn't able to participate in dowsing, but that went well. The Psi Games is this amazing event. They have this giant, probably 15 by 20 foot Phoenix that was made by this company called Weird Technologies that would actually sense the vibration or the frequency of the room, right? And so when I was doing my psychokinesis at the very end, right before I got the standing ovation, and there's so much to tell you, but this thing lights up and it's on video, and like Danny Sheehan and Colonel John Alexander are right up front, these like military generals that are big in like the alien community, and like it's a standing ovation, and it was an amazing moment that I am so grateful that I was on the receiving end of that. And in the Mindsight, I had this like 3-game tie-off for me and this other woman named Tammy, like literally tied each other 3 times. So in our Mindsight competition, we had like a duel. I ended up crushing it on the 4th, but just such a great event. Friday, there was just so many great speakers. Saturday was the games. Sunday was the awards. Hakeem Isler, the guy that put it on, said some amazing things about me and basically said I'm the coolest guy in the world, was his exact words. So, just all these crazy experiences. Since then, I've done so many podcasts. I'm actually one of the trainers for the Psi Games Intuitive Perception coming up here in May. I think it's May 21st to the 28th. There's only 2 tickets left. Just a little bit of a plug, just because I'm one of the trainers for it.
Get one of those last 2 tickets, and we'll put the link in the show notes. Ryan, we're coming into like our last 5 minutes here, but I want to know for folks who want to get more in touch with their own psychic abilities, where do you suggest that they start?
Themselves, man. Getting to know yourself, getting to know your emotions, how your own body will react to your own emotions. Psychotherapy and psychic training are actually pretty close to each other. They just use different terminology, different, sides of the same coin, I think. It's really getting to know yourself and really figuring out your emotions, right? And when you have that control of yourself and your emotions, it just kind of gives some clarity to everything else. Doesn't hurt that I had the death experience and ended up getting this kind of color overlay that kind of gives me a little bit of extra help. But yeah, it's been such an amazing experience. I'm actually going to be presenting at Contact in the Desert as well as going to be one of the participants in the 2026 Psi Games.
Awesome. So Ryan, if people want to know more about you or follow you online, where can they find you?
So I think I'm on Facebook. I usually post most of my stuff public. Just Ryan Desbien. If you go to Instagram, it's Monstrous Nightmare 1234. If you look up Rhino Pit Monstrous Nightmare Racing on YouTube, I have some videos there. I'm all over the Psi Games stuff. If you just Google search my name, I'm all over at this point.
Awesome. Everybody go look up Ryan. He's really he's the coolest guy in the world, I heard. You should be friends with him and you should follow him. If you want to follow me, I'm everywhere at Michelle Descale, and we love you listening to Delusional. Come join us in the Delusional movement on Facebook. We've got a group of weird-ass delusional people going, like Ryan and myself, and it's just a cool, fun time to hang out, so we would love to have you there.
Thank you, Michelle, for everything and having me on.
Absolutely, Ryan. Thank you so much for being on. It was a pleasure to meet you, a pleasure to have you on the show. And thank you, everybody, so much for listening and watching. And please go watch this one. And we will see you next time. Bye.